Listen to the Vibes.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. And I'm very happy to welcome Tom Cahue. He's a writer, an IT guy, and after my own heart, a paranormal investigator. So we're going to touch on a little bit of that. Before we get into it, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. So yeah, I'm Tom Cahue, Northern Delaware native, living in Westchester, right on the suburbs of Philadelphia. Have a huge history in IT. It's pretty much the only job I've ever known, moving, across the gambit of careers. But I'm at a point now in my life, mid-30s, where I can settle down and start focusing on my own hobbies, and that's where the writing came about. Honestly, I picked up a book at Barnes and Noble, read it, and thought, hey, let me give it a try and see if I can actually do something like this. Went down, started writing a script, and became a producer on a project it was actually a Kickstarter. Became a producer there, started writing a little bit on the side, and worked on screenplays and writing dialogue. So I was like, well, that's pretty interesting. It never was supposed to be a career choice, but it was fun little, feather in your cap that, hey, I did something. I have my own credits on IMDB. You can check them out. The works that were produced, it's not extensive, but I'm happy with where it is. But also, again, moving into mid-30s and things like that, I had more time to hobbies such as the paranormal field, joining a paranormal society, Free Spirit Paranormal Society. A little shout out to them outside of Philadelphia. We investigate about 6 to 10 times a year. Very great people. No egos, no bias. Anybody can join. Working with tech investigations, we're free. We just do it for the love of everything. So joining that has been a great experience. Obviously getting out post-COVID, meeting people, things like that, and working with any individual who wants to learn more about it, such as fairs. We've just done a paranormal fair at the Ludington Library on the main line outside of Philadelphia, which was really fun. You had a bunch of people coming and selling their goods, and then us recruiting paranormal members to it. So think of the worst tent at a flea market, worst table at a flea market is the best way I can describe that one. But no, people love us. We give cards out. We talk to individuals, and if they believe their private home is haunted, or bars, restaurants, that sort of thing, on an off night, we'll come in and we'll host essentially an investigation there, when everything's closed, a slow night, all that kind of good stuff. And we all, as members, write reports. So say there's 5 of us, you're going to get 5 reports. That way nothing's left out. We all do our write-ups independent of each other. We found it's the best way. And in terms of the content or the evidence that we claim, we will not include any orbs. And I don't know how many people know about the actual ins and outs of the paranormal, but we're a no orb society, and so that's how we go. There's too much. Our feeling is that there's just too much it could be, so if we don't include any of it, then we can just bypass all of it. So that's a little synopsis about what I've been up to through adult life and what I'm doing now, and I'm working on starting my own podcast, having my own guests, and I'm always exploring avenues of writing, and hopefully will be self-publishing a book next year on basically a lot of the same stuff that we talk about day to day, but nobody really gives a voice to it. We all have struggles. We all have inner demons, and I'm not the only one going and looking for them, is what I'll say out about. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
In the IT field, we'll start with that.
Absolutely.
We had a little talk before we got started, and you brought up some pretty interesting stuff, some new things in the field. But first off, tell everyone where you work and some of the new innovations.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. So I work at the Mary Campbell Center in Wilmington, Delaware. We are a long-term skilled care nursing facility for the individuals with physical and mental disabilities. We're a long-term care home for everyone. We have 68 residents. we promote independence at our center. So if I were to bring in layman's terms, you think of a nursing home for the elderly. This is a long-term home for individuals 18 and up. And we have individuals who run the gamut of that age. We have your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, and the majority, however, is probably 40 and up and things like that. But we promote independence. So we have active treatment and care goals for these residents that we meet every year. And not only do we have, maybe physical goals such as range of motion, strength training, whatever that might be. We have intellectual goals such as social goals where they might want to learn I want to learn all 50 states this year. You know what I mean? Things like that. But they also have a personal goal. And that's the real key there, because we ask them, what do you want to do? What do you want to do this year? We've had residents fly planes. We've had residents get black belts. We've had residents surf. Anything that they would want to do that we can adapt to their lifestyle, whether they're in a wheelchair, motorized wheelchair, or they are ambulatory, we make their dreams a reality, through any means we can do. And one of those things is the IT field, the communication field. So most residents have a tablet device that's hooked onto their wheelchair that's called an accent. On that accent, if you were to look at, if I were to turn it around, the back, this is the iPad, but you turn it around to the front of the screen, you have a plastic grate overlaying almost the entire screen. Each one of them is a button, and each button might have a word, a phrase, or somebody's picture. If I need to get to Tom, he'll have his picture right there on the screen. And I don't mean like it's just one screen. There are pages and pages of these screens that they can go and cycle through and create sentences and have the tablet speak for them as they are unable to do. Most residents are non-communicative. They are nonverbal. But through this means and through our wonderful, and I think we have some of the smartest speech language pathologists here that work on this stuff in the country, they're able to create a sentence when they never have vocally said a sentence in their life. The example I'll use again is I've had residents come up to me and, shake me on my arm or whatever. And I'm like, oh, hey, how are you doing? And they would hit buttons on their screen. I'm trying to do it for the camera here. And I'm like, okay, I'm just waiting. A full sentence pops up. Can you change my Facebook profile picture? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, man. Let's go. Let's go find the best one. Yeah, let's see what you got. What are you working with? Let's find. And the smile that comes up, the joy that I get personally, and I'm going to be selfish, the joy I get for that, but the smile that comes up where nobody could understand me before I had this. And now people are understanding what I'm talking about. The smile, the happiness, all of that kind of thing that comes up is tremendous. Here's another funny story, and I'm hopefully don't get in trouble for this, but one of our residents was moving towards digital songs. They had the old CD case, how we all used to have back in the 90s and 2000s, the CD case, all that kind of stuff. He wanted to move from that to more of like, I guess, an iTunes or a Spotify and put them all on a playlist digitally. I'm going through with him and I'm like, okay, this one, Elvis. Yeah, you got to have Elvis, all of that kind of stuff. I said, do you want Bruce Springsteen? He hit on his tablet a few buttons and told me that Bruce Springsteen is trash. I was like, okay, we'll move that away. We won't play that. And I just thought, this guy has never had a full conversation, outside of this building. They came from a school, an under 18 facility that was pretty much the same as us, and we're an over 18 facility. But still clown the guy. I think that's, if you want to talk about freedom of speech, I love that. Yeah, absolutely, man. If you don't like someone, you tell me you don't like them. We're here for that kind of content. I'm a fan of all of what was going on that day. So that's in a nutshell how the IT for me has evolved from router switches, connecting Ethernet ports, firewalls, and that sort of thing, to utilizing this technology to help people who don't have a voice talk. And you should see a lot of the frustrations that ease when somebody just understands what the hell you're talking about.
Do they do home health care as well?
No, we don't. We're only a live-in facility. What we do have is a children and youth program. So people that or individuals that might have a son or daughter that are under 18 that legally can't live there. We do have some programs. We can't for whatever reason we can't call them after school programs. We'll just say they're afternoon programs. And that's a very good, if you want to get into the business of everything, it's a feeder program into upstairs, because once they turn 18, they already know the center. We know them. They get on place on a admissions list. We would love to have everybody, on there. It's just through size and space and what we're able to do in Northern Delaware, 68, we will be expanding a little bit, but we would love to have everyone there. But in terms of our one location, just the one center we have, we do have access for people who might have youth under 18 that can come in to there. But in part of going home, or in terms of going home, no, we don't have any kind of program that way.
I'm just wondering because I know there's folks out there that they may have someone at home that needs that kind of help,
Yeah.
and it'd be nice for it to be available to them. I'm sure there's programs out there.
Absolutely. We have a lot in the area programs and home health care agencies that'll send nurses and things like that to do vitals, but that's more on the healthcare only. I don't say more on the health, but it's like healthcare only. We offer full daily programs, live in 24/7 care. We're a 24/7 facility. So you got RNs, LPNs, CNAs around the clock, just in case, you never know what people we have people with an extensive medical history, people without an extensive medical history, but we're prepared for all of it there. We carry ourselves to a higher standard than what the law dictates. What I mean by that is we staff more than traditional other companies, which is a blessing and a curse, but if we can support it, which we can support it financially. That's the way we want to do it. So, and we found that our, neglect numbers go down when people have less people they have to take care of, and you can spend more quality time, not quantity, quality time with individuals that way.
That's the really great innovation, but I'm wondering, will you see a next generation of this technology, and what will it look like?
Absolutely. A great question. So the next generation of this technology is uncapped. That's the best way that I can put it. What these machines are doing now weren't doing them 10 years ago. So when I say brand new, I mean brand new. We all knew about Stephen Hawking and his computer he made. This thing can be a program on an iPad to be out to everybody. You know what I'm saying? It's more software based than the actual machine. Stephen Hawking's machine was a whole unit. You know what I mean? These are apps, these are programs to allow people to communicate effectively through putting different icons on that dashboard or screen that they see. So the possibilities are limitless, because if it's on a tablet, theoretically, it's going to be on a mobile device, similar operating system, if not the same, depending on what you use. If that's the case, you don't have to be at our level. And what I mean by our level is residents who need round-the-clock care, residents who need to live into a facility. And then you have people, and I don't want to use the term normal, but cognitively functioning, standard of individual. There's a big area in the middle there of people who might not need this or might not need that. They might have the dexterity to use a cell phone, but maybe not the cognitive awareness in social settings to speak. Right. I foresee this going mobile. I foresee this being an app on individuals' phones. I foresee this technology allowing an easier transition of moving back the ableist model, is what I would say. Allowing individuals to, if they would like to get a job, if they would like to have their own apartment, I foresee this for a certain demographic to be implemented into homes, to be implemented into a lifestyle. And to carry this tablet around for those that are individuals that are able to walk or mounted like how it is at our center on a wheelchair. But I foresee this technology just transforming independence of every single user possible that can use this. Where that goes, I'm not a decision maker in terms of what insurance thinks, because they run the world, so
Right.
we don't know that what their idea is. But can you imagine a wired up home with these communicative devices that allows individuals, most likely one floor or apartment buildings, it allows these long-term care facilities to stop looking like a nursing home and start looking like an apartment building. Can you imagine that?
And that would be wonderful, because there's folks that just want to be independent, but they don't have the means to be. And if technology can make that possible, man,
I
that's
completely
awesome.
agree. I appreciate that. And one more thing that I'll add here is, not only is this for individuals who are born with a disability, cystic fibrosis, spina bifida, that sort of thing, it also transforms. We have individuals living in our center that may have had a traumatic brain injury, crash, car crash, things of that nature. But think of it in the medical field. I had a grandfather who had a stroke back in 1994. Now, he was a fighter. He lived on until 2020 or 2021. So, but he was paralyzed half his body, could not remember things, could not speak complete sentences, things like that. If this would have helped, if this was around then, instead of being trained for muscle movement, things like that, which you need to do, I get that, but the cognition for speech would have been a lot better, because he could have just used a tablet to communicate. I want, and words are built out, not typing. These are pre-configured words. So it's not like you're on home row back in school or anything like that. You pre-configured words where I want to go to the grocery store, things of that nature, where he would think for a while and be eggs, and that's all he would come up with, and we would have to figure out what he meant by that. Is he out of eggs? Does he need eggs? Did the eggs go bad? Is he not feeling well? Did he eat? You know what I mean? There's so much that we're wasting time on trying to dissect that could have been more focused on, this is what I want. So that's another area with the traumatic brain injury route, where you have full independence. God forbid you get in a car crash, what happened, stroke, aneurysm, whatever it might be that destroyed some part of your brain, or you don't have that function again. This would be a way for them to gain independence back, and hopefully lessen some of the depression, the anxiety, and things like that that might come from getting an injury like that.
But there's nothing more frustrating when your independence is slowly taken away from you.
Yes.
I speak from experience, and I don't want this to be about me, but real quick, I've developed a disease in my spine where the bone is actually deteriorating, and it's slow, but I've already had 3 surgeries, and I can't drive for a long time. I can't lift anything heavy anymore.
Yeah.
I have to have help sometimes taking a shower or getting dressed. Sometimes, like, if we're going to go somewhere and we're going to be there for a while, I can't walk on my cane very long, so I have to have my wheelchair, and it's frustrating. And I know what you mean. It gets depressing, and then you feel like you're a burden on everyone, and there's nothing more depressing than that, I think, as far as this goes.
Well, thank you for telling us that, and telling me that about the struggles you go through, because it is all about that. You start off the day up here before you even open your eyes, right? So if you can't have a safe space up here, how are you supposed to feel comfortable in your day-to-day life? If I need adult supervision just to go on my own brain, right? So I know what that's like. I've dealt with anxiety and depression and things like that without knowing what they were. And then I hear myself repeating all the preconceived notions out there that are forced upon you. So you're exactly right, where the anxieties and the fear of being a burden on people push you to a place that you might not be at yet. What technology can do, and hopefully where this technology leads to, is to prevent that by having technology be an aid. You know what I mean? It's a hired person. It's a person that's there that can call your family for you just through the sound of your voice. We're there already with the Alexa type of devices and Echo and Google Home and whatever else you want to call it. We're there with some parts of it. I think rather quickly, if there was a way to bring all of that together into a wired home like setting, where you would have essentially assignments. Basically, okay, today I'm going to shower and I'm going to go into, a custom shower that you'd be able to use without help. You know what I mean? And to live a day without getting out of that chair and doing everything you were supposed to do and talking to people, because we can do the physical part, pretty easily. You have motorized chairs, you have other things like that. It's up here. It's the communication, it's the cognitive part that needs to keep yourself fresh too, because without that, you spend more time thinking. And when you spend time more thinking, you spend time dwelling. And when you spend more time dwelling, you never dwell on the good things. It always leads to the bad part. So if we can take that away by keeping things task oriented, focus oriented, that's one of the biggest things to help anxiety, is to keep yourself busy. Is like they said, if you can do it in a different way, not physically, but mentally through utilizing this technology, it could be a win-win and a complete game changer for people's independence. And if you even feel like you're losing a part of your independence, we take things and run with it in our brain. It's human nature, right? We go to the worst possible scenario there. That was a part of my story, to be very honest with you. I was so upside down and in a knot where, to me, if I had a headache, I jumped to brain tumor. You know what I mean? If I had a pain, I jumped to cancer. It was something like that where I would jump to, because I didn't go that, oh, I maybe drank a little bit too much last night, that's why I have a headache. Nope, it has to be this. So getting yourself active, getting yourself doing tasks, whether they're meaningful or whether they're physical or whether they're actually, cognitive, that's how you pull yourself up out of any rut. And finding yourself able to do that, I really think goes a long way. But I definitely appreciate you sharing that with me.
And I want to get into your writing.
Absolutely.
So you went into Barnes and Noble, found a book, and then the next thing you know, you're on IMDb.
Yes, I am. I love how that story came about. I reached out to somebody in the field who was looking to get their project over the finish line. I contacted them. We got in contact. We started. I said, I would love to learn how to do it. I won't, ask you for any money or anything like that. I just want to see how it's done and would love to see if I, have what it takes. And they sat me down and gave me like a crash course, over the phone. This was, a couple of years ago. So, and they were out in LA, so nobody was flying anywhere. But they reached out and they were, we would have weekly calls, for an hour or two, and they're drilling into me everything they've learned out in the business about creating content, creating a story that would engage people. And, the way they described it to me, they're brilliant, by the way, but the way they described it to me made a lot of sense, because in the chicken and the egg, does the story come first or do the characters come first? And I was completely wrong about that. They're like, no, before you do anything, flush out every single character, make a character list, make who, is your main character, who's their foil, who's going to be the side characters, and create a setting. Before you even got to what the story was, you need to build the foundation of everything that's going on there. It blew my mind. I was like, well, I think I like this story about, this. And they're like, okay, but if you don't have the characters, what I mean? You don't want to start and work backwards, because the characters aren't going to make any sense. They're only there to push the story along. You want people invested in the character. And I thought about it, and they made some good points. I'm like, yeah, when you think of TV and I don't want to say golden age, but some of the, TV over the last 30 years, you know the show, but the character sticks out more. The characters stick out more than what was actually going on in the plot. And I was like, I didn't even realize that. So before you get into start to create content and write stories, take your character and flush them out to the point of what grade they got in a second grade spelling test. Go as deep as you want on them, and then you'll see how they interact with each other. That's where you can create your stories to move along to your central theme and get to the plot point. So working that way, reaching out, talking to them, making them a part. I owe a lot to them in terms of anything, because now I'm completely insufferable when I watch TV or a movie, because I'm telling you how they shot that, why this doesn't make sense, why so I'm awful with that. But anyway, no, they were a great point in my life. They were a great resource, and they became a friend. During this time, my father unfortunately passed away. They sent flowers. They never met me. They never met him for sure, but they never seen me in person. Sending flowers to his grave, all that kind of good stuff. It was really nice to see there's still some good people out there. And especially, talking back about preconceived notions, when we talk about what Hollywood must be like, it was very nice to see that there was individuals that still get it. And, it always warms the heart when I think of that time in my life, and having calls and working on characters and getting some credits. And once they made it for me, and they made my IMDb for me and showed me it, I really, it was a real sense of pride, because I went from nothing, at least in IT. I had the background schooling, that kind of thing, but this one was nothing, Barnes and Noble. And now writing characters and getting a little executive producer and associate writer credits on IMDb, I just thought was wonderful.
If the opportunity came up that you could do this for life, would you leave what you're doing to do it?
Oh, very good question. I have thought about that before. And I'll be very honest with you. When I was new at this job, my answer would have been yes. I'd leave in a heartbeat. Getting some time, being at my job now, learning and feeling the joy that I have, the answer is no now. But it wasn't always no. I'll be very honest with you. I'll be very honest that when I was there and I was new and I was in the beginning, and before I built connections with residents, before I put my imprint on the facility there in terms of the IT structure, and all of that kind of more technical stuff. If somebody 2, 3, 5 months in was like, here you go, here's X amount of dollars on a check, I need you to come out to Hollywood and work on this project, I probably would have done it. Now, there's no way I would. No way at all. I think we could really advance the physical and mental disability agenda. We could really push it forward with the technology that is out there, how we utilize it, because it may not be brand new, but we're utilizing it in a new way. Kind of like when you see prescriptions and, this is for that, but they use it for another thing. And it turns out it works better for this than it ever did for that. I think that's where we go, because I really do think that in the not so distant future, these type of independence facilities will become more and more like the apartment building, like a hotel, like that, than just, when you pass an old nursing home, it's just one flat building with rooms, right?
Right.
I think we're moving that. I would not jump for that right now. But no, it wasn't always that answer. I'll be very honest with you.
I've talked to a lot of people, and especially veterans, when they come back from war, they just need a purpose. They had a purpose over there, and now they're in the real, they're away from the war and they're in this world, and they just want purpose. Do you feel like this is your purpose in life?
Yes, I do. I think too many things have come together from my past to now that fit. What I mean by that is, I think my time is coming, essentially. So, or is here now. Whereas before, things would come up, you would have ideas and it wouldn't work at other places, other jobs, other periods of your mental state, growing up. Now, these pieces are fitting in like a puzzle, and I'm not having to work square pegs and round holes anymore. You know what I mean? So I never, and I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be that guy right here. I never thought I was going to be the guy to be like, I love my job. You know what I mean? Work was work. It stinks. You have to do it. You get money. You have to pay bills. It's work. Whoa. I never thought I would be that guy. That I genuinely enjoy going to work every day and enjoy seeing, resident face. I go to work on me and the IT specialists there are on call 24/7, 365. I'm on call. So that means every other weekend I'm on call. I, stay late. I come in early. I really do. It gives me my purpose to help them there. And I never thought I was always a taker in life. I took from this world way more than I gave before. When you find what's right for you, when you find what's calling for you, and when you do something good, it's not just praise, you actually feel good from it. You got to hold on to that, because that just doesn't come around all the time.
Yeah. That's a good selfishness.
Yeah. It brings up the point, altruism, right? Altruistic. Is altruism selfish? I kind of would argue, yeah, it is. I do things for others and it makes me feel good. And I like it. I enjoy that feeling. Yeah, different discussion for a different day, but that's what it is. I'm feeling good by the work I'm producing. That's a win-win.
Well, I think you should come back on my paranormal show.
I would love to.
And we will discuss more paranormal stuff. But real quick,
sure.
Why did you get into the paranormal field?
Okay, so I've always had an interest, and there is no grandiose story that I can tell that, oh, I this happened to me, so I've been. No, I've always been into it. I was lucky enough to grow up in a family that also believed in it, so it was more commonplace than maybe other households had. You know what I mean? So we were able to talk about those sort of things, and everything from in the paranormal realm. I mean, UFOs or UAPs, whatever they call them now, paranormal realm, cryptid, whatever it might be. Growing up, my mother probably loved the story of Bigfoot more than us. So it was always something we talked about, always something that was mentioned. We were a good Catholic and Italian family, so that there comes the paranormal right there, ghosts and that sort of thing. But I kind of got away from it a little bit, which that happens. Something you always like. You get busy with life. You start becoming your own person. You become independent. Become who you're trying to be. And through a lot of my 20s, it's just, I like horror movies and that's that. But really getting into it, learning more about it, as you get older, you tend to have more time. You're not going out all the time. The friend circle gets smaller. I think there I'm able to fill it with things like learning about local history, going on investigations, meeting people who share the same ideology as you. And you don't know how rewarding it is. Or actually, I meant that generally. You obviously do, being in the field too. But when you get around a group of people who all believe in it, and you can just let loose and talk about anything you want. And if you tried that in a different group, it would be completely bonkers. Once you have that freedom and you're able to express yourself in that way and get a lot of whatever you want off your chest, you feel pretty good about it, don't you?
Oh yeah.
So other than having more time, I guess I have more time now. I've always been into it. But after my father passed, there was no story. There was no, oh, he came to me in this. Oh, he did that. Maybe I'm looking for that. Who knows?
Well, do you have a website?
I do not have a website, no. But I am just Tom. I have a lot of likes. Oh, or a website. I can give you our website for our paranormal society. It's freespiritparanormalsociety.com.
Mm-hmm.
From there, you can get a bio, pictures of all the groups where we've investigated, and we put on some of the best evidence that we capture up there. We're not a film crew. We're not any of these shows. So, have reasonable expectations, but the stuff we found is pretty cool. anything you find in that realm is pretty cool, right? So freespiritparanormalsociety.com is our paranormal society. If you want to check out the Mary Campbell Center, we're marycampbellcenter.org. And yes, we're .org, so don't put .com.
And what about your social media?
Absolutely. So we have Mary Campbell Center. We have the official Mary Campbell Center web page, Facebook page on Facebook and Instagram. We have a LinkedIn as well. Find us on Indeed. We're always hiring CNAs in our area. I want to give that little plug out there. And for myself, I'm at Tom Cahue, TomCahue, Twitter, and also from the Paranormal Society as well. You can find me on there as well.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. And like I said, I want you to come back on. I want you to come back on my paranormal show.
Absolutely. Reach out and let's get her done.
And I also want to thank all you folks out there. If you are new to the channel, well, I hope you'll come back. Hit that subscribe button. For my regulars, you guys are awesome because you make it possible for me to do this. And until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network